Hey, what's up, guys? It's Renaldo here. So, South Africa is one of those unique countries when it comes to politicians and politics, you never know what type of answer you're going to get when it comes to who is responsible and who's accountable. Now, just to illustrate this point, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, I don't expect you to write the comment down, but I want you to think about it. And I'm going to illustrate how we are on the same wavelength. And there's usually three type of answers to the following question, right? And you could be right on all three, one of the three, or two of the three. But I'm going to illustrate that even though we've never met, even though we've never ever had a conversation, if you're watching this video, we as South Africans are on the same wavelength. And the question is, when a politician is caught not doing their jobs or being corrupt or failing at implementing what they're supposed to implement, when it goes back to the default setting of blaming something or someone, who do the politicians in this country blame? All right, think about that. Okay, so it's one of three. It's either Jan van Riebeeck, it's either apartheid, or it's colonialism. I can guarantee that that is what you were thinking. It was one of those three, or all three, or two of the three. And the reason for that is because this is the excuse that has been used for the last 32 years in this country. We have the Minister of Justice that in 2026 has come out and said the reason the justice system is so dysfunctional is not because of the ANC failure to allocate funds in order to improve it or to move it further into rural areas or to create more courts, or employ more judges. No. It is purely the apartheid's fault, in essence. The reason that in 2026 the justice system is dysfunctional, according to the Minister of Justice, which is adequately called Minister Kubayi, because a lot of people just want to say, Kubayi, can you move along? But she's come out and blamed apartheid for the state of the judiciary in South Africa in 2026. If you don't believe me, have a look at the following article. Minister blames apartheid for dysfunctional courts. It's an article by the South African, and it says Minister Kubayi blames the apartheid legacy for challenges facing South Africa's judiciary system today. And here's the proposed fix. The fix is just to get rid of the ANC. It's not that hard. More than 30 years into our democracy, and apartheid is still scarring South Africa's court system. This is the opinion of Mamaloko Kubayi, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development in South Africa. Briefing media earlier this week, Kubayi conceded that post-1994, South Africa has inherited a judiciary that's barely changed. Whose fault is that? Because since 1994, the ANC has been in power. Why has the ANC not done more? This is like when the ANC blames the power failures in this country on apartheid. It's no. Why didn't you build more power stations? Why didn't you build or spend more money on infrastructure? Like, why do you think apartheid is the forever excuse that you can just use? 32 years into our democracy, 32 trillion rand later. Because on average, the government gets about R1 trillion to spend on infrastructure and do whatever they need to do. And yet, with 32 trillion rand, they could not have built more power stations. They couldn't have built more courts. They couldn't have employed more judges for some weird reason. But in any way, it's always apartheid's fault. As a result, ordinary South Africans living in former homelands and rural areas are the ones suffering. They are suffering because of the ANC failure, not because of apartheid, not because of the ghost or spirit of apartheid or Jan van Riebeeck or colonialism. No, they are suffering because of the ANC's failure to implement basic legislation that could have assisted in helping the rural communities to actually have more courts in those specific areas. And now, of course, the legacy of colonialism as well. The legacy of colonialism and apartheid continues to plague South Africa's judicial system. There are spatial injustices that impede access to courts for communities in defunct homelands and self-governing territories, said Kubayi. As such, in a bid to tackle the imbalance, government has come up with a new rationalization plan. I'm not going to go into that because we all know it's going to be a waste of time. I just want to make sure I'm getting this point across. It's been 32 years since we became a democracy, meaning that the ANC, who's been in charge of this country for the last 32 years, yes, that includes the GNU because they still the majority party in the GNU, they've had 32 years and roughly 32 trillion rand. Now, how do I get to that number? The annual amount that the government gets on average over the last 32 years has been 1 trillion rand. The last financial year it's been even more. It's been 1.3, 1.4 trillion. But on average, it's 1 trillion rand a year. And instead of using that 32 trillion rand to build hospitals, schools, new universities, more courts, and allocating more judges, they rather just spend that money on trying to save defunct state-owned enterprises like Eskom, Postnet, SAA, and the list goes on and on. But instead of taking accountability and responsibility for that, they go, no, it's apartheid's fault. It's colonialism's fault. It's their fault because even though we have been in charge for the last 32 years, no, like let's blame them for, I don't know why. I don't know why they're blaming apartheid, because you have had all the power, you have had all the money, you are literally the minister, and you are blaming the past instead of the recent past, which for the last 32 years have been you, the ANC, and even the present. You have money that you can allocate to this and fix this within a couple of years, but instead of doing that, you just blame colonization and apartheid. And at some point, we have to ask the question, how dumb do you think we are? And when I say we, I'm talking about all South Africans. I'm talking about black, white, colored, Indian, Asian, because this excuse has now expired. Blaming apartheid for things that are wrong in this country in 2026 is just absurd. And let me give you one recent example. The ANC loves to blame apartheid and colonialism for the things that are going wrong in this country. But let me give you an example of how the ANC is not abiding by the Constitution and by the law, meaning that they are the ones that should actually be held responsible. And the example I'm going to give you is the fact that the Speaker of Parliament is now protecting Cyril Ramaphosa from the impeachment committee actually continuing its work. Let's have a look. So, thanks to Newsday for the brilliant article. It says serious accusations against the Speaker of Parliament, Toko Didiza. Now, what's going on here? Well, Speaker of Parliament Toko Didiza is accused of choosing political protection forced on her by the ANC over her constitutional duty. This follows her decision not to oppose President Cyril Ramaphosa's legal bid to interdict Parliament's impeachment inquiry into the Pala scandal. On Friday, the 19th of June 2026, Didiza filed a notice which stated that she will abide by the Western Cape High Court's decision on this matter. Numerous reports suggested that Didiza's decision reportedly goes against internal legal counsel. This has sparked immediate backlash from opponents. So the internal legal counsel said, no, you should not abide by it. You should contest it. You should fight against Cyril Ramaphosa's request to interdict the impeachment committee from not continuing. Lerato and Gombeni from Action SA said that they are disappointed but not surprised by Didiza's decision. This decision is a clear indication that the ANC has once again forced the hand of the Speaker, choosing political protection over constitutional duty, she said. The impeachment committee resolved on Thursday to oppose the President's application in line with its responsibility to ensure accountability. By refusing to act, the Speaker undermines Parliament's obligation to serve as a check on executive power, she said. Now it goes on, but I've made my point. You see, a clear-cut case of the Speaker getting legal advice saying, we advise that you take the President on and that you fight against this interdict. And then the Speaker goes, I am an ANC loyalist, even though I made an oath to the Constitution that I will uphold it as a member of Parliament. The one that is over here at the top behind me, that is the one that I signed. And it's very, very clear that you will do everything in your ability to uphold the constitution of this country. And guess what? The Constitutional Court came out and said that the Section 89 committee should resume. The impeachment committee should resume. So not only is she not upholding her oath of office with the Constitution and with Parliament, but she's also just ignoring internal legal counsel telling her that we advise that you should take this on because the interdict, the prospects of success is almost zero. But now she wants to play the political game rather than adhering to the Constitution and abiding by the law. And this is the point that I'm making. You get Minister Kubayi that says, apartheid is to blame for the failures we have today. And just as an example, here we've got the Speaker of Parliament that got legal advice that no, you should contest this. And also you should uphold the Constitution because the Constitution came back and said, no, the president needs to be held accountable. That Section 89 committee, the fact that Parliament voted for not to go to the impeachment committee was wrong. So the Constitutional Court is helping. The legal eagles are helping, but the ANC and their cadres are not listening. So instead of blaming themselves, their political party, they would rather blame apartheid, colonialism, and Jan van Riebeeck because, hey, that way they don't have to take any accountability for their failures. But this is the state of South Africa, where even though it is clear as day that it's not apartheid's fault, it's not colonialism's fault, it's not Jan van Riebeeck's fault, it's your fault, instead of taking accountability, they can say this and get away with it. That is the absurdity of South Africa in 2026, where people will just go on with their day and take that insult on the chin, just allow them to get away with the fact that they aren't actually upholding their oath to the Constitution. And the question is, at what point do we, as citizens of this country, go, enough is enough? Because at the moment, we are allowing this to slide. They are getting away with it because they are so arrogant and confident that you will continue to vote for them. So when is enough enough, South Africa? At what point do you go, they are actually taking us for, I'm not going to say the word, but you get what I'm saying. So I don't know what advice to give you other than just to register to vote and make sure that we get rid of these cretins, because that is what they are. Not holding themselves accountable, not committing to the oath to the Constitution and to Parliament and to the citizens of this country that they committed to, and then just blaming something in the past because it's convenient to do so. Wake up, South Africa. It's now or never. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, share this video far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything. However, if you'd like to financially contribute to this channel, you can do so by either giving a super thanks, and you can do that by looking for the $ below and choosing an amount and then submitting it, and thank you for that. Or you can become a member to this channel by clicking the join button below. And that's all I got to say. Till later. Cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre.